everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay and happy Halloween. I'm your host, Connie. Today we are reacting to the Imperfects, episode 2. And yeah, I think this is a good one for Halloween, just because, spooky monsters and shit. Not really very spooky based on the first episode, but, like we have classic kind of monster tropes with this. We have our one character who is a werewolf-like chupacabra. We have a banshee and a siren, or succubus. Sorry. These are classic monsters and everything, and I'm very interested to see what else we get in this series. I'm just ready for this. All kinds of ready. I really enjoyed the first episode. I thought it was a little weird of a way to introduce us into things. A little weird of a cold open and everything. The flash forward thing doesn't always work, and I think it just didn't work as well for this. But we'll see how it ends up continuing on. Honestly, I didn't have too many issues with the first episode, just some small things. Hopefully, everything gets better from here, though. I'm just very excited to see what we got next and where it goes, so let's get into it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, continuing off of the train of thought I was going on at the end of the episode, is Dr. Burke a victim of Sarkov's manipulation and synthetic stem cells and everything as well? I'm kind of wondering if if she's also something involved in this, because we've seen multiple times now she's having these nightmares, these crazy dreams of this faceless being attacking her. And in the last one, we see a mouth splits open there. And while we haven't seen her actually do anything, there's the entire thoughts about medicating in her sleep and sleepwalking in general. And on top of that, there's the writing on the mirror at the end. I'm wondering if maybe she is another victim. And the reason I believe that, and it's also a reason I believe that she knows she is. Because there's a certain line in this episode that implies that. She's talking to all of them and saying, what Alex Sarkov did is unconscionable, but it's not irreversible. Abby responds, "You believe that?" And in response to that, Dr. Burke says, "I have to believe that." That is a line that in a lot of media I've seen usually comes from the implication that the person saying it, "I have to believe that," is facing the same kind of issue. It implies to me that she has to believe that because she needs to be, quote-unquote, fixed by Dr. Sarkov as well. That she needs him to fix whatever is happening to her. So I believe that she is like them. I guess you could say an imperfect, which we got a title drop for in this episode. I think that she is one, and I don't know the full details of what she is or what her powers are and everything, but it's definitely linked to these nightmares she's having. I'm very curious about them and how that's going to play into things. I guess we'll see. This episode, though, is more than just this. It delves into our main trio continuing to deal with the issues surrounding their side effects and how their lives are being uprooted because of them. We see Abby is having a hard time answering the calls of her best friend because with how close they are, she's freaked out by the fact that her best friend, I think his name was Paul, that he, was affected by her pheromones and, went after her. He regrets it. He is very clearly, by his texts, horrified by what he did, even going as far to call himself a monster. And she's been unable to respond to him because she's worried about how she'll view him going forward just because of how traumatizing something like that is. But at the end, she does finally respond to tell him he's not a monster, and hopefully we'll get some continued progression on that front. Tilda, meanwhile, reveals her hyperacusis to PJ in her band, but not the full details of everything that's gone on with her. And while he tested it out and does clearly believe her, he also is still going ahead with the rest of the band on replacing her. She feels not just left out, but she feels abandoned by her friends, by people she thought cared for her, and by a band that she helped start. It's something that was extremely important to her. As abrasive as Tilda can be, we also see through this episode that she does have some self-image issues. And this band was clearly helping her with that. But with her hyperacusis and, the banshee powers, and on top of with being basically kicked out of the band, even if it is meant as temporary, it's causing her to break. It's causing her facade to break down. And we're starting to see more of who she really is underneath. Juan, meanwhile, has to deal with his girlfriend having some trust issues in what he's been saying. And we find out why, that she's been in some bad relationships and because of that is very skittish towards this kind of stuff, which is completely fair. And not once does Juan ever say that she's wrong to think like that. In fact, he actually makes it pretty clear that he understands and agrees with her line of thought. And he acknowledges that he's been lying to her, that he's not telling her the truth on things, because of course he can't. But before the end of the episode, it looks like she maybe finds out. It's unclear if that was him that she found, and if it's not, that's actually more scary. So it's where is that going to go? Because if she finds out, how is that going to affect things with their relationship and just in general? On top of that, this episode focuses a lot on Doug, the zombie guy, you could say, who we were kind of introduced to last episode, who attacked them and they had to stop. His entire side effect is that he cannot die. His body will regenerate him. But he feels all of the pain. And it seems to be a pain that just doesn't go away as easily. So because of this, he's in constant pain. Everything is causing him pain. Even just like, cutting himself while shaving. Obviously, different pains are different levels and all, but still. It seems like the only way to actually kill him is, molecular destruction. And there's not a lot of ways to do that. However, the deal he ends up making with them to give them the information he has is that they kill him painlessly. He wants to die, he wants this all to end, but he doesn't want it to be painful for him. Because even when he's in his death-like state, he feels everything from that. So he needs to permanently die, but have it done painlessly. He kind of reminds me of Andy from Undead Unluck. I've only seen one episode of that, but obviously different personality and everything, but just in the fact that he wants to die. Andy doesn't seem to, again, based on the first episode, he doesn't seem too worried about whether it's painful or not, though. But Doug definitely does. And the thing is, while it's clear that killing him on a molecular level is the only way to do so, how do we do that without it being painful? The only idea that Dr. Burke can come up with is to first do a painless way to actually quote-unquote kill him, which is by basically overdosing him on some chemicals and shit to make him fall asleep, basically, into death. Which sounds, painless and relatively peaceful. Probably the most humane way to do it. But then, because you need the cellular destruction, the only way that she can think of to properly do it at that point is to dismember his body and dissolve the pieces in acid. Practically going all Breaking Bad on us. If you've seen Breaking Bad, you know what I'm talking about. The problem is, after he would die from the chemicals, as it's been made clear, he would still be able to feel everything while in that death state before his body would regenerate. Meaning he would feel the dismemberment and the acid before his cells are destroyed, stopping him from resurrecting again and causing permanent death. So it wouldn't be painless in the end. Tilda, who starts to actually, bond with him a little and starts to care for him. So when she finds out this is happening, she can't stand it. It bothers her. It feels inhumane and wrong. So she sets him free. Which just leads to him choosing to kill himself anyway by blowing himself up. He blows himself up with dynamite, and it's like, yeah, that'll do it. I don't think he's gonna be bringing himself back from that. That's like, I think that would cause cellular destruction. So yeah. Dog gonna start barking, but yeah, it's just. That it's gotten to that point to where he had to do that. The fact is, he felt betrayed. He felt like they had turned their back on him and gone against his word. Even if, in the end, they didn't find the laptop originally and thought that he was either wrong or mistaken or that Sarkov had already taken it. The point is, they still broke their promise to him and still were planning to, hurt him, basically. So he chose to do it on his own, by his own hands. And, yeah. This series is just full of trauma. Jesus. It's enough that they already killed Doug 3 times and everything. That's already going to be some trauma stacked on these young college kids and everything. But then you have the added trauma. Oh, this dude who they killed 3 times, already trauma stacked there, then blows himself up after feeling they betrayed him. They get covered in his blood and shit. It's just like, Jesus fuck. Like, how do you recover from that? Like, seriously. That is insane levels of trauma. Like, my God. But yeah, the biggest thing I'm thinking right now is that Dr. Burke is one of these victims as well. That she is an imperfect as well. And I'm also kind of curious if Sarkov just disappeared, just like ran for it. Why didn't he take this laptop? Did he really think no one would ever find it? It seems like he left a lot of shit back there. But the fact that he never took this laptop is just wild to me. It just feels like, for someone as actively smart as he is said to be, that seems like a dumb move unless he wanted them to find it. Now, we also got a little hint of other stuff to come. We have this mysterious woman come to meet Hannah in the coffee shop. Hannah was one person that the Imperfect group was looking for, and they managed to find her thanks to the laptop. Abby had a short conversation with her, but unfortunately Hannah couldn't really help that much. But then this other woman comes in, and she makes it clear that she's another victim and everything. But unlike the Imperfects, who seem to want to do this more by the book and in an ethical way and everything, this woman wants vengeance. She is out to kill. And she gets Hannah on her side pretty easily. So it seems like we're probably going to have like 2 sets of like victims here, 2 sets of Imperfects going after Sarkov in different ways. Now with this being, 10 episodes? Let me check real quick here. Gee, if I can, if it lets me. Yeah, with this being 10 episodes, and with it having been canceled, I don't think we're going to get all the answers. It's going to be one of those shows that we definitely we definitely have no real conclusion to. And it really sucks, because based on these first 2 episodes so far, this is pretty great. It's like the drama and the depth of emotion and character here is done pretty damn well. I really am into the story. The supernatural elements are fantastic. It's like, this is great. I still wonder why it was dropped in the first place. With Netflix, you can never tell. Like, they'll probably say it was due to bad ratings. They'll probably say it was due to not enough people watching it. But we know that, like, a lot of the time when they say that shit, it is bullshit. That it's specifically more along the lines of that they didn't get the viewership in, like, the first 24 to 48 hours that they wanted. That they didn't, that it didn't work on the binge model that they are so obsessed with. Because basically, if something doesn't work on the binge model for them, it's not worth continuing. And I honestly, I think that there's like, I don't know how the insider stuff with this kind of industry works and everything, but I think that there's something just inherently wrong and unethical about them doing this to a lot of these shows. Like, I genuinely believe that when these shows are made and, you know, contracted for Netflix, there should be something in the contract that basically says that Netflix can't just cancel it without probable cause. And what probable cause for cancellation should be very notably outlined, like in very full detail. They should not be allowed to, for example, cancel a show if it's doing well, if it has a good viewership. And again, I don't actually know if this did. This might have been one of those shows that was, not advertised well, because Netflix does not advertise a lot of their shows well at all. And that might have been a big problem for it. But they should also be forced to advertise all of their shows properly. Like, that's if you're gonna run these shows and have them be on your streaming service, they should be properly advertised for. And the people making the shows should be advertising for them properly as well. If it's something's poorly advertised, it's on both parties, and they should do better. But yeah, it's like that's something that Netflix does have an active problem with. There's a lot of shows that they just have not marketed well at all. And they really need to fix that. Hopefully they will. I can't say for sure, but and honestly they probably won't, but hopefully they will. But yeah, it's like it's pretty wild to think about. Pretty wild, pretty insane, and I would not even begin to guess why exactly this was canceled, because again, with Netflix, it's impossible to tell. But I nonetheless really like this show, and I wish it had done better. I wish it could or did get picked up by another service or whatnot. I don't know if they tried to get it picked up or whatnot, but honestly, it's probably not going to be. A lot of these shows don't get picked up by anyone else. So I don't have a lot of faith. I have hope, but I don't have faith, if you know what I mean. It sucks too. Because I'm going into this knowing that it's canceled and knowing that it's not going to have a proper conclusion. And the fact that I'm getting into it makes it that much sadder and more upsetting that I'm going to just be left disappointed in the end. Hopefully at least there's a good closure to the season. So I can at least enjoy that much. We'll see. We will see. In the meantime, though, tell me what you thought of this second episode of The Imperfects, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.